In the grim tapestry of human history, the methods of punishment and execution have often reflected the darkest corners of our collective imagination. From the iconic guillotine in France to the sadistic Spanish donkey, each culture has devised its own macabre means of retribution. Join me on a journey as we explore some of the most chilling and infamous punishments from around the world, ranging from the calculated precision of the guillotine to the grotesque brutality of lynching in China. These tales of horror, rooted in the annals of history, reveal the capacity of human cruelty and the haunting echoes of our shared past. France, the guillotine. The guillotine, a product of the French Revolution, embodied both the pursuit of humane justice and the descent into radical brutality. Conceived by Dr. Joseph Ignace Guillotin for its efficiency and supposed humanity, the guillotine aimed to equalize the act of execution. However, during the Reign of Terror, it transformed into a symbol of mass political purges. Initially celebrated for its swift and egalitarian approach, the guillotine's dark turn occurred as revolutionary fervor intensified. The Committee of Public Safety, under figures like Maximilien Robespierre, wielded the guillotine as a tool for executing thousands, including perceived enemies and even fellow revolutionaries. The public squares of Paris witnessed a relentless procession of beheadings, turning the guillotine into the national razor. As the Reign of Terror waned with the fall of Robespierre in 1794, so did the guillotine's prominence. Despite its grim associations, the guillotine endured as a potent symbol of a revolutionary era, torn between ideals of equality and the harsh realities of unchecked power. Its legacy persists, encapsulating the complex and contradictory nature of the French Revolution. Spain, the Spanish donkey. The Spanish donkey, a grim torture device linked to the Spanish Inquisition, epitomized the brutality of its methods. Used from the late 15th to the early 19th centuries, this wooden contraption inflicted excruciating pain on victims accused of heresy or other perceived offenses against the Catholic Church. Straddling a wedge-shaped board, the accused faced intense pressure on the genital region, compelling confessions through both physical and psychological torment. The Spanish donkey remains a haunting symbol of the inhumane tactics employed during a dark period of religious persecution. Russia, the Gulag system. The Gulag system originated in the Soviet Union under Vladimir Lenin and expanded dramatically under Joseph Stalin's rule in the early to mid-20th century. The term Gulag stands for Glavnoye Upravlenie Lagery, meaning main camp administration. It represented a vast network of labor camps where millions of individuals, including political dissidents and perceived enemies of the state, endured harsh conditions, forced labor, and widespread suffering. South Africa, necklacing. Necklacing gained notoriety during the apartheid era in South Africa, 1948-1994. It was a form of vigilante justice used by anti-apartheid activists against alleged collaborators with the oppressive regime. The brutal method involved placing a gasoline-soaked tire around the victim's neck and setting it ablaze, often leading to a gruesome death. India, death by elephant. Execution by elephant, practiced in ancient India until the 19th century, was a gruesome method employed by rulers, particularly during the Mughal era. Victims faced public punishment as elephants were used to crush and trample them. This brutal form of execution symbolized the power dynamics of imperial rule and aimed to instill fear among the population, emphasizing the severity of transgressions. Over time, societal changes led to the abandonment of this barbaric practice, but its historical legacy remains as a chilling reminder of the extremes rulers went to assert their authority. England, gibbeting or hanging in chains was prevalent in medieval England and continued into the 18th century. It was a gruesome form of post-mortem punishment, where the bodies of executed criminals were displayed in iron cages or gibbets. The practice aimed to deter criminal activities through public humiliation and the gruesome spectacle of decaying corpses. Italy, the Brazen Bull. The Brazen Bull, attributed to ancient Greece but often associated with the tyrant Phalaris of Acragas in Sicily, was a brutal execution method in ancient Rome. It reflected the cruelty of despotic rulers, as victims were burned alive inside a bronze bull-shaped device. While its historical accuracy is debated, it remains a chilling symbol of sadistic creativity. China, Lingqi, Death of 1,000 Cuts. Lingqi, also known as the Death of 1,000 Cuts, was a method of execution in ancient China. Used from the 10th to the early 20th century, it involved systematically cutting off parts of the condemned's body until death. The practice was deeply rooted in Confucian principles and served as both physical punishment and a means to destroy the condemned's afterlife. Japan, seppuku, harakiri. Seppuku, also known as harakiri, was a form of ritual suicide practiced by samurai in feudal Japan, particularly during the Edo period, 17th to 19th century. It was considered an honorable way for a disgraced warrior to regain lost honor. The act involved the samurai disemboweling themselves with a short sword, emphasizing the importance of honor and self-discipline in Japanese society. Vikings, the Blood Eagle. The Blood Eagle is mentioned in Norse sagas and involves a gruesome method of execution. While its historical accuracy is debated, it is associated with Viking culture during the medieval period, 8th to 11th centuries. The Vikings were renowned seafarers and warriors who engaged in raiding, trading, and exploration across Europe. The Blood Eagle, if real, would exemplify the brutal nature of their methods of punishment. Psychological and societal impact. France, the guillotine. Psychological impact. Swift and public nature heightened fear. It became a symbol of terror. Societal impact. Reinforced revolutionary ideals, but also led to widespread paranoia. Spain, the Spanish donkey. Psychological impact. Extreme physical pain for confessions induced terror and submission. Societal impact. Instilled fear and suppressed dissent during the Inquisition. Russia, the Gulag system. Psychological impact. Stripped individuals of dignity, fostering fear and submission. Societal impact, widespread fear, stifling dissent and opposition to the regime. South Africa, necklacing. Psychological impact, brutal and public, creating terror and a sense of vulnerability. Societal impact contributed to the atmosphere of violence and retribution. India, death by elephant. Psychological impact, public spectacle enhanced fear of authority. Societal impact, maintained oppressive rule through intimidation. England, gibbeting. Psychological impact, public decay was a macabre spectacle, serving as a deterrent. Societal impact, contributed to a culture of fear and obedience. Italy, the brazen bull. Psychological impact, gruesome and theatrical, designed to instill horror. Societal impact, maintained political control through fear. China, Lingqi, Death of 1,000 Cuts. Psychological impact, prolonged suffering heightened the psychological trauma. Societal impact, emphasized the power of the ruling class and deterred dissent. Japan, seppuku, harakiri. Psychological impact, ritualistic suicide, emphasized the importance of honor. Societal impact, maintained social order through adherence to a strict code. Vikings, the Blood Eagle. Psychological impact, brutal and ritualistic, instilling fear in enemies. Societal impact, contributed to the Viking reputation for brutality. France, the guillotine method, swift beheading with a mechanical device. Purpose, symbol of equality during the French Revolution. Instances, reign of terror, execution of King Louis XV. Spain, the Spanish donkey, method, seated on a wedge to induce pain. Purpose, extracting confessions during the Spanish Inquisition. Instances, widely used during the Spanish Inquisition. Russia, the Gulag system, method, forced labor in harsh conditions. Purpose, political repression and instilling fear. Instances, pervasive during Stalin's rule, detailed in the Gulag Archipelago. South Africa, necklacing, method, burning victims with gasoline-soaked tires. Purpose, extrajudicial justice during anti-apartheid movement. Instances: anti-apartheid activism, targeted killings. India: death by elephant. Method: execution by trained elephant trampling. Purpose: display of rulers' power and instilling fear. Instances: historical Mughal era use for severe crimes. England: gibbeting. Method: displaying bodies in cages for public decay. Purpose: deterrence through public humiliation. Instances: notable cases like Dick Turpin in the 18th century. Italy: the brazen bull. Method: roasting victims alive inside a bronze bull. Purpose: gruesome execution for political enemies. Instances: attributed to the tyrant, Phalaris of Akragas. China: lynching, death of 1,000 cuts. Method: systematic cutting, leading to death. Purpose: physical punishment and symbolic destruction. Instances: widespread practice abolished in the early 20th century. Japan: seppuku, harakiri. Method: ritualistic suicide by disembowelment. Purpose: regaining honor and avoiding shame. Instances famous in the story of the 47 Ronin in 1703. Vikings: the blood eagle. Method: gruesome display of cutting and exposing lungs. Purpose: associated with Viking sagas, possibly for enemies. Instances mentioned in sagas, notably in the execution of Iela by Ragnar Lothbrok's sons. Historical accuracy debated. Comparison to modern views: justice and human rights. Modern societies emphasize human rights, fairness, and due process, contrasting with the arbitrary and often brutal nature of historical punishments. Punishment as deterrence. Historical methods aimed at deterrence through fear, while modern justice systems focus on rehabilitation and the protection of individual rights. Public spectacle. Public executions and displays were common historically, but are considered barbaric in modern contexts, where privacy and human dignity are prioritized. Role of the state. Modern justice systems are expected to serve the people, ensuring fairness and equality, whereas historical punishments often served the interests of the ruling class. International human rights standards. Modern views align with international human rights standards, emphasizing the prohibition of torture and cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. While historical punishments were often brutal, modern societies have evolved to prioritize human rights, justice, and the well-being of individuals. The shift reflects a deeper understanding of the psychological and societal impacts of punitive measures, aiming for a more humane approach to justice. Conclusion. In retracing the grim paths of historical punishments, we witness a stark evolution in societal norms and legal practices. From the guillotine's swift terror to the blood-soaked arenas of public execution, humanity has transitioned from brutal and arbitrary retribution to a more nuanced understanding of justice. Each punishment reflected its cultural and historical context, showcasing the diversity of human cruelty justified by prevailing norms. Whether through fear, pain, or spectacle, these punishments aimed at controlling societies through the manipulation of collective psychology. Contemporary societies increasingly reject brutality in favor of human rights, due process, and rehabilitation, marking a significant departure from historical practices. As we examine this progression, one must ponder: have we truly advanced morally and ethically, or do remnants of historical cruelties persist in modern forms? In our pursuit of justice, how can we ensure that the mistakes of the past remain buried, and our evolving norms truly embody the principles of compassion, fairness, and respect for the dignity of every individual? The echoes of history challenge us to confront the shadows of our past and navigate a path towards a more just and humane future. Shocked by these historical punishments? If you found this video intriguing, hit like, share, and subscribe to dive deeper into captivating historical explorations. Your support fuels more engaging content. Thanks for watching.